What's up, Spilled Milkers? Andrew Zimmern here. It is the first Ask Me Anything of 2024. I'm so excited. If you missed it, I'm not a resolutions person, but I do have a lot of rules for living. We posted them on Tuesday. So if you missed it, it's why you should be a subscriber. 74 rules to live by. I had 75, but my editor found that 2 were repeats. I know. So we fell to 74. I have another one I'm going to add for next year. Anyway, it's lovely to see you. I'm a completely changed person, much different since last week, obviously, since I had to put away the baby New Year costume. Trim the beard. I'm feeling pretty righteous. Headed down. I will be coming to you next week from another hotel room, except this time that hotel room is at the Ritz-Carlton in Grand Cayman, where I will be at the Cayman Cookout with a bunch of, erstwhile line cooks, Jose Andres, Eric Repair, Enrique Olvera, Emeril Lagasse, and the list goes on and on. Should be a lot of fun down there. And on the off chance that some of you are going to be down in Grand Cayman, I will see you down there. We have so many good questions. Where do I begin? And we're also going to take a field trip during today's Ask Me Anything, because there's a trip that involves a little voyage over to, I think we're going to go to my stove and my pantry, and I might even take you out into the garage if I'm feeling super jaunty. Where is the question that I was looking for to kick us off? Oh, Pete writes, do you have any tips for dressing for cold weather? Yes. A really nice hot bacon vinaigrette. The recipe is on andrewzimmern.com. Ba-dum-bum. Pete, this is why I'm glad there's no last names. And I hope you take this with the humor it was intended. But that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. And then I thought about it. So now I have to apologize to you. Because during the cold weather, I actually don't just do oil and vinegar the way I would during the summertime, or even just olive oil with just a squeeze of lemon, or just some lemon zest and salt and olive oil the way I would during the summer on just tomatoes or just grilled vegetables. Wintertime is time for different kinds of dressing. Hot dressing with crispy bacon recipe at andrewzimmern.com. It's a wonderful vinaigrette, comes out warm, but lots of bacon, really thick and rich. All of my cream-based vinaigrettes, I have a wonderful mustard vinaigrette that is actually Pierre Garnier's grandmother's. It's wonderful. Peanut oil and hazelnut oil beaten with lots of mustard and apple cider vinegar, Dijon mustard, of course, and then finished with a little bit of cream and sprinkled chives across the top. It is sturdy, classic, creamy French vinaigrette. And those are the types of things that I gravitate towards during wintertime. I very rarely do blue cheese dressings, like thick ones, but during the wintertime, I love them. So yeah, you're right. There are cold weather salad dressings. Then probably the last one that I would talk about is my citrus vinaigrette, which is also on my website. If you just look at all the salads, they all come with different vinaigrettes. But I have a citrus vinaigrette where I emulsify a lot of fresh squeezed orange juice, grapefruit juice, lemon juice, lime juice, with a little honey, a little, just a pinch of cayenne, a little bit of Dijon mustard, a little bit of olive oil, and I use a little bit of modified tapioca starch. Do not use regular tapioca starch. It has to be modified. I get mine from the Modernist Pantry, themodernistpantry.com. Get a modified tapioca starch. Tablespoon or 2 in there, high-speed blender, it thickens it without heating the citrus juice or reducing its volume. So you get a lot of body in that dressing. It's just like putting just gobs of orange juice onto every bite of salad with a lot of, winter greens and radishes and things like that. It's really, really good. So, Pete, Dumbest question I ever heard until I thought about it. So good on you. Chuck writes, congratulations on the launch of your frozen dinners. How does preparing a recipe for frozen dinners differ from cooking the same meals fresh? Practice, practice, practice. No, it actually is a very, very fascinating process. You can, these days, the science is there, think of sous vide. So you can always take a piece of fish, throw it under a broiler, cook it, pair it with a butter sauce, at room temperature, slide it into a bag, and drop it into warm water and let it sit there for an hour upon retrieval. And you can even serve fish in butter sauce, right? But what we tried to do with my line at Walmart, and I really encourage everyone to go check it out. They are delicious, they are convenient, they are inexpensive. And the reason that I did them was because I felt that busy families that didn't have a lot of money deserve to eat wholesome, delicious food as well. And these foods are well balanced, and I stand behind them because I put my name on them. And would I advocate that everyone cook from scratch, from fresh? Yes. Many people are time poor, cannot. Many people are cash poor and cannot. In fact, the vast, vast majority of Americans do not have the money and time combined to cook from scratch all the time. Just look at the average American grocery cart. Okay? But those folks, I wanted them to all be able to have something really delicious and fresh as well. So there you go. And my colleague, Gordon Ramsay and Guy Fieri and I all designed 4 SKUs that are being put out by the same company, and they're delightful. Michael writes, hi, how do you remove the green germ from garlic? What about from an onion? I recently read that Ludo Lefebvre, great chef, LA-based, always removes the green center of onions. And I'm sure he does from garlic. And I do as often as possible. The exception with removing the green germ, the center from garlic, the exception is when I have like 2 cloves left and I know it's on the grocery list for tomorrow, but it's 9 o'clock at night and I'm making a dish that if it doesn't have garlic in it, it's just not gonna make me happy. And at that point, I hope that it doesn't turn my dish bitter. Now, the reason there's so much discord about this issue is that with garlic, sometimes the activation of the germ inside the garlic, the sprout where it starts to come out, sometimes it turns a dish bitter. 25% of the time it doesn't, but the majority of time it doesn't. It does. It also tends to turn things a weird green color if you're pureeing a decent amount of garlic. It's really disconcerting. So think about putting a handful, like 20 cloves, into the water when you're cooking potatoes and then draining them and whipping those soft poached garlic cloves with the potatoes to give it a great mellow garlic flavor. If they all have a germ in them, it almost turns the potatoes blue. All I do is I cut them in half. I take the tip of my paring knife and I just pop it out. Onions, much different story. If onions have a green germ coming out of the center, that takes weeks to grow. With garlic, it's just a matter of days if they're past their prime that you will see that germ grow. And it will turn the rest of the onion woody. That green center is hard. Just, I use the onion that's around it, but I always take that green germ out. I never, ever, ever use that. My editor made a note. He's a big Dory Greenspan fan. I will have to tell Dory that, AB. But Dory says the same thing. I mean, every chef does. Just take the green stuff out if you can. Susie writes, besides your own food shows, are there any old or new shows you think are worth checking out? Why? Yeah, I love a lot of food television. I love. A lot of it is talks down to the viewer. I'll just say it is bullshit. There are competition shows that I've participated in that are fantastic. I just taped another episode of Beat Bobby Flay the other day. 2 days ago in New York. Wonderful experience, great show, right? And actually a really fun show to watch. I encourage you to watch Beat Bobby Flay. Then there are other shows, and I'm not going to discuss them, where they're competition shows, but they're not real, right? The Tournament of Champions, another show on Food Network that I judge, is a great show, and I really enjoy watching that. That show is straight up. I mean, we literally are held as judges, held outside, and the minute the cook is over, we walk in and eat the food pretty much right away, and we have no clue who cooked it. The chef testants, I love that word, watch from behind, from their dressing rooms and through closed circuit as we judge their food, and then they shoot that so they can edit it in. But we have no idea we don't even know the participants that year. We usually can guess because Guy has a lot of the same folks on that show every year, but we have no idea who's doing what. Now, sometimes there's a tip-off because even as a viewer, if you don't know that Manish Chauhan is cooking a dish and you watch a lot of TV, something's wrong with you because, she has a certain style of cooking. And there's a lot of chefs that have a certain style of cooking. I can tell her food from a mile away. And then there's all the other wild cards that you just don't know. So it's wonderful. And I will watch that show because it's fast paced. It's interesting. A lot of the cooks who are participating in it are highly skilled and are doing really, really cool things. Well, they're all highly skilled, but you see some really cool things and some fun ideas. I love watching food and travel television, although very little of it is being made these days. I think Phil Rosenthal's show, Somebody Feed Phil, is a fantastic show. I love watching old television. So classic Jacques and Julia is always wonderful. I watch that kind of like a fireplace, because when they're dicing the onion, I'm like, okay, I know how to dice an onion. And I can hear them in the background talking about stuff. And they're talking you through very sort of basic things. And I understand a lot of it. And then they get to a certain technique with roasting, or you hear them say, now pay attention, here's something I do that not a lot of people do. And I always turn around and there's always something to connect to. And I learn a lot from a lot of programs like that. I really ought to make a list of classic food TV. By the way, if I haven't mentioned your show, it doesn't mean I'm not watching it for my friends and I that are here. I love everything I watch Duff Goldman do on TV, but Kids Baking Championship is just not my thing. But I love watching everything that he does. He's one of my favorite human beings in the whole world, and one of my really good friends. Chefs and TV, food TV, is kind of like lawyers watching lawyer shows. We also see a lot of stuff that's not right, but I'll tell you what really, really fucks with my patience. When I see chefs who are not real chefs, like slicing an onion and not doing it the right way. You can tell. I can tell. Or when they're searing scallops and throwing it up on Instagram and they're just full of shit and they're just frankly not doing it right. I mean, there are certain intractable, immutable laws. And if they're sort of pretending, I'm sort of stunned. What do I love? I love any of the David Gill documentary stuff. I love the food documentaries, are absolutely fantastic. I love things like Final Table and all that. A lot of people don't like it because it was very, very, very high-end cuisine. But I love stuff like that. I love watching the best chefs in the world cook food at their best, whether it's a competitive environment or not. I want to see things and learn from the best. which is why I like Instagram and YouTube, because if I want to see, Guy Savoy make something, I can, right? And that's what I tend to gravitate to. And of course I love The Bear. Got a lot of friends on that show. Gabe writes regarding Chinese sesame noodles from 2 weeks ago. Suppose we wanted to make these knife cut noodles from scratch. Is that complicated? No. What's the best approach? Easy. Gabe, essentially it is a flour, water, and salt mixture. You just have to knead it for a long time and get that dough to an elastic point where the noodles will have a toothy bounce when you eat them. And for beginners, I recommend this. There is so much skill to using a very sharp knife and just hitting, you hold this sort of cone of dough and shoot the pieces into water. It takes a lot of practice. It takes me about 20, 30 strokes, then I have to take all of them out and throw them away. And then I'm in my rhythm. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. What's a lot easier is to scissor cut them. And you get this wonderful little curl to them. I will, in the coming weeks, I will show everyone how to make scissor cut noodles because they're so good. The other thing I do is I make, people call them slap noodles or Chengdu style noodles, where you essentially take squares, turn them into rectangles, rub them with oil, let them come to room temperature, and slap them on a piece of metal as you're pulling them, and then split them in half and drop them into the water. Those are much easier than you think. We'll have to show people how to do those. I love making them. I make both of those all the time. But scissor cut noodles are probably the easiest. I will also tell people, classic Italian pastas, super easy. Once you dial it in, you find the way that you want to do it, insanely easy. Roll it through the machine. You keep turning the number down, get it to the right thickness, cut it. You can roll the sheets and cut it with a knife in half-inch strips. And pappardelle is the easiest thing in the whole world. It's so simple. Cavatelli is probably the easiest of all the pastas. For $23 on Amazon, there's a cavatelli maker where you make these sort of cigars of cavatelli dough, and then you just feed it into this machine and turn the handle, and little cavatellis come spitting out the other side. It's a manual machine. It's, fantastic. I can't recommend that enough. Lisa writes, is there a substitute for schmaltz? Well, it's rendered chicken fat. So, what do you want me to tell you? Rendered duck fat? Rendered goose fat? I've never bought that and would not know where the heck to find it in hellish Phoenix, Arizona. Wow. There are so many supermarkets out there that carry Empire brand rendered schmaltz in little 4-ounce containers. When we head over on the field trip, for one of the other questions, I'll show you I always keep backup schmaltz because I like sauteing certain things in chicken fat. It's really clean. I can't make certain soups without it. I can't make certain tares, liquid seasoning for ramen, without it. I can't make latkes without it, or matzo balls. So yeah, you should be able to find it. Plus Amazon will send it to you in a little refrigerated box. Balti writes, what's a cleaning product you'd rather not live without? Well, 2. Bartender's Friend, which is a great non-abrasive cleaner I use it if I have a real problem with a cast iron pan or something. I love using that. And household vinegar. I have a spray bottle of household vinegar. That's what I use to clean almost everything. I don't like chemicals. Janine writes, your Badia spice blends help inspire my New Year's resolution to start making some spice blends of my own. Right on. Can you suggest a good starter project for me? Well, Janine, the first thing is, if you're going to start making your own spice blends, buy like 20 cases of mine and give them to all your buddies. And then, because we're taking you out of the purchasing market and putting you into the maker market, I want to make sure I'm just kidding. Start with pickling blends. I mean, that's always fun. And then you get to pickle and then you get to enjoy it. A lot of people like to start with barbecue rubs. A lot of people like to start with poultry rubs. I love it. One thing about my Badia spice line, we use dehydrated and ground lemon zest, garlic, shallots, orange zest, lime zest, chilies. We dehydrate it, we grind it. And we use that in those spice blends along with real Malden sea salt. And I think that's the difference in ours. And so if you're going to experiment, if you want citrus flavor, you can use citric acid, but that's just the acid itself, the tang. If you want the lemon, you can buy a dehydrator, dehydrate the zest, and then grind it and put that into your blends. It's what I used to do, and then Badia and I started working on these together. But that's why you should go to my website, andrewzimmern.com, and buy Badia spices, my line of Badia spices, if you haven't gotten them already. Nelson writes, what are some ways I can eat more vegetables this year? Yes, this is a resolution question. Nelson, I got some really bad news for you. It's like Nike's slogan, you got to just do it. I know it's really hard. First off, start with things you like, okay? If let's just say broccoli is the only thing you like, great. It's a cruciferous vegetable. It's in the brassica family. Eat other cruciferous brassica vegetables. Some people are like, oh yeah, I love cabbage in soups. Okay, so get Savoy cabbage, not green head cabbage, Savoy cabbage. It's a little milder. It's a little more tender. And start playing around with it. Lots of great recipes out there, a lot of them at andrewzimmern.com. There's a theme coming along here. If you like carrots, some people are like, oh my God, I just like carrots. No problem. So twice a week, you should be eating them very simply. You can roast them, and you can also sear them in a little bit of oil, add some water or stock, just enough to cook them tender, and add some honey and a little bit of chili flake and reduce that to a glaze around them and do the, honeyed carrots. And probably my biggest trick, and I do this with Brussels sprouts, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower. I've done it with every single vegetable there is, even the spinach, because I had to get my kid eating them, is I season those vegetables. I would just saute them or steam them, and then I would toss them in a pan and finish them by sauteing them in a mixture of a tablespoon of butter, for every couple of handfuls, tablespoon of butter, tablespoon of brown sugar, teaspoon of fish sauce. That trio of ingredients, why do I keep blocking my face? Oh, because of the position of the camera. That trio of ingredients is fucking unbelievable. You will have died and gone to heaven. If you double that for like 2-3 pounds of veg at a dinner party, people are going to be hoovering it up and they're not even going to know why. You get the salty, the nutty, I do it, if you brown the butter first, then add the brown sugar and the fish sauce, and then saute the already steamed broccoli or cauliflower in it, change your life. Kids go nuts for it, because everyone wants that little bit of sweetness, a little bit of saltiness, a little bit of umami, a little bit of butter. It's fantastic. So that's an easy way to eat more vegetables. Also soups. Everyone seems to love vegetables in soups and not in other things, right? So do that. Same thing with pastas, right? I mean, it's an easy thing to do. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Someone asked me what kind of olive oil I like. So let me see if I can do this. I'm sure that I can. All right. So this is actually my stove. Some of you may recognize it from other videos. So this is the liters of olive oil from Puglia. It is one of my favorite, from Masseria San Giusto. You can actually stay here at this masseria. It's a farm that's also a hotel and a cooking school and all that kind of stuff. I think this olive oil right here is some of the best olive oil in the whole world. And yes, I buy it in liters like that for a reason. Cobram Estate, stunning stuff. I have their regular extra virgin olive oil and their limited edition stuff. California, fantastic. This I have here because I love the can. It's so cute. Look, it's a little mini. But for supermarket olive oil, Partana is the best. Absolutely fantastic. And it's Sicilian, I think. Isn't Partana? Well, this is a blend. It's a negociant. I think some of their, I think they started in Sicily, didn't they? Anyway, Partana, really great stuff. Fantastic supermarket olive oil. But come with me. Let me show you. Yep, we're going over to the pantry. This is so embarrassing. So I have my little Italian section here with lots of different things in there. I get different olive oils, and they all come from different things, from the Pineapple Collaborative, a woman-owned business in California. Really great stuff. I love their olive oils. They also make the best apple cider vinegar in America. Laudemio, a fantastic, soft, buttery olive oil that I think is just great. Their new oils are grassy, but their traditionals are much more mellow. What is this? And my all-time favorite from my friend Lior is the Moshi oil. Yep. I mean, look at that color. Is that beautiful? And I mean, comes in these gorgeous jugs. I go through so much of this stuff. If you want to get this, just go to La Boite, Laboite, I think it's laboitenewyorkcity.com. La Boite, New York, LABOITENY.com. I was going to take you out into the garage, because out in the garage I have a lot of other Italian olive oil that I've collected. I mean, every year I, call this friend, call that friend, or a chef says, oh my God, I just came back from whatever, Sardinia, and there was this incredible olive oil in the market, and I left a liter of it at the hotel, and you got to call them and give them your credit card and they'll ship it to you and stuff like that. I smuggle a lot of olive oil too. When I came home, Croatia has some of the best olive oil I've ever tasted. So does Morocco, so does Spain. There's so many great countries that make great olive oils. And I go into markets and I buy it, and I travel with plastic wrap, a sealing machine, duct tape, so that I can wrap things up and travel safely with them. So yeah, and that's one of my favorite, that's a photograph right there. One of my favorites. Actually, since I have you back here, sleeping dog beneath me, I love the surf. Yeah, pretty nice. I buy everything that I see that I can from that incredible artist. So yeah, anyway, okay, that was enough of a field trip. We're not going to my garage. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. See you next week.